Oh, nice breeze, Saber. Whoa. This is Saber, a red-tailed hawk. And Saber is 21 years old.
I'll stop.
Oh, thank you. 21. She's an older hawk.
Sad face.
She's named after the rusty-colored red tail feathers. And this beautiful hawk belonged in an education program where they were flying in falconry. So a friend of ours, Larry, who's a master falconer, trained this red-tailed hawk to eat on the glove. And he developed a relationship with her. We would all be outside, Larry would unclip her, and she would fly the skies. And then when he called her back, she would come back to his glove and he would reward her with food. She did that for 18 years.
Another smaller one called a solo.
He began to notice that she was not able to land on his glove the way she used to. And so he took her to Tufts University, and they found out that she has cataracts. So she can't see as well as she used to. And he decided after 18 years in education that he would retire her and give her to WindOverWings for education to enrich her life and to enrich all of our lives. But she didn't have to fly the skies for food anymore. She gets fed first thing in the morning. And so she's learning that when she comes out of the box, she doesn't have to fly in order to get rewarded with food. She's ready to fly now, but we're going to keep her right here. So it's an adjustment for her, and yet she's doing very, very well. Her name is Saber. Falconry actually started in China, they believe, about 4,000 years ago, and red-tailed hawks are one of the most common birds used in falconry. So you would establish a relationship with the bird and then take it out to catch a pheasant or a squirrel, and that would be your dinner. They really help put food on the table initially. So falconry is now developed into a sport, and if you get to see a flighted program, they're really amazing to watch. It's a different kind of training than WindOverWings does, but magnificent to see birds fly in the skies. This is the most common hawk we have in the United States. Nice big wingspan. And one of the most intelligent birds. If you have an opportunity to see Pale Mail, it's a video that's on PBS often. You can rent it sometimes. And it's a wonderful video about the red-tailed hawks that live on Woody Allen's building in Central Park. And they are just amazing. It's a funny story. It's wonderful, moving, and narrated by Joanne Woodward. Really a well-done movie. So Saber is with us permanently now and learning a whole new way of life where she doesn't have to work quite as hard. So she is a little bit semi-retired from the kind of life she had before. But red-tailed hawks, if you remember the song Oklahoma, a hawk making lazy circles in the sky, that's the red-tail. Native Americans consider them good luck. How much does she weigh? She weighed, do you have a guess on how much she might weigh?
10 pounds.
10 pounds, anybody else guess?
5.
5. She weighs about, well, let's see, she weighs about 4 at this point. She is a big hawk, and their bones are hollow for flight. Their feathers actually weigh more than their bones. So she's panting because she's hot. When they flap their wings, they get hot. And so they pant like dogs to cool off. Any other questions?
Where was she born?
She was born in Massachusetts.
She was.
Yep.
So we have a native to Maine?
Yes, yes. Red-tails are all over the United States. It's the most common hawk we have.
Is that the one that eats the chickens in my yard?
They are actually hanging around because they know the grain for the chickens that brings mice. And they really prefer rodents. They used to be called the chicken hawk because they would stay out around chicken coops.
Because we've had them in our yard.
Yeah.
I mean, you just stand there in a maze, you know.
They're waiting for dinner, which would be a rodent.
Right? Yeah, what do you feed them?
What do we feed them? She eats rats. Rats. We buy our food from a company in Florida called Gourmet Rodent. It's mice and rats that we call. because these are not hunters anymore. She can't see well enough to hunt. And Pfizer makes a generous donation. WindOverWings is a non-profit charity, and so we're not funded by the state or government, although we're licensed by both. So the food budget can be very high, and thanks to Pfizer, they do make a donation to offset that. I'll tell you a quick story about a red-tailed hawk that a person called me some time back, and she was driving to work, and there was a red-tailed hawk right on the side of the road that didn't move much. She was worried about it. She didn't know what to do. It was winter time, so she got out of her car, and she put her coat over it, and she moved it to a fence post. And it seemed to be all right, although it didn't fly away. She drove to work, but she was very worried. And when she came back in the evening, the hawk was gone. So she felt that maybe it was just bumped by a car or was just digesting food, and maybe it was all right. She drove several miles home, and she lived in a beautiful place like this with a big picture window. She was in her living room, and she had the sensation that something was looking at her. And she looked out the window, and there was that same red-tailed hawk sitting in the tree, waiting for eye contact. She recognized the hawk because of her markings. And as soon as she looked at that hawk, and they met each other's eyes, the hawk flew away. So I think they're just amazing, amazing animals. I don't know whether it was a thank you or how he knew or how that hawk knew that that's where she lived, but he found her.
Wow.
So they're just incredible birds. Any questions about red-tails?
21 must be old.
21 is pretty old. We had a red-tailed at WindOverWings that lived to be 30. But that's pushing it. In the wild, they live a shorter lifespan because the health benefits are good in captivity, but freedom is better.
Yeah.
The hawk in Connecticut that lived to be 30 did 3,000 programs of this.
Wow.
And she loved it.
She loved doing programs. If I didn't take her, she would stomp her feet and yell.
What are their natural enemies?
Her natural enemies would be a peregrine falcon, great horned owl, possibly an eagle, but mostly great horns. Which are bigger.
Stay all winter.
They do stay all winter. They're very hardy mainers. Any other questions?
What's their eyesight like?
Eyesight, hawkeye. They are wonderful. They could read a newspaper about a mile away. Amazing eyesight.
Well, hopefully it's their way. I mean, I'm just going to let you listen to what a bald eagle sounds like. When you watch movies and you see birds soaring, that's often the red-tailed hawk. And the sound you hear, they're talking about the sound, she likes to fly, try to fly.
Don't want to go.
The sound you hear, even though they may be talking about an eagle in the movie, is a red-tailed hawk. Because this is what a bald eagle sounds like. Little wimpy. Doesn't sound majestic, like, soaring in the skies, right? Although they are majestic, very majestic birds. And then this is what a red-tailed hawk sounds like.
Oh, yeah.
So really a formidable sound, something that you would associate with a bird soaring high in the sky. So whether it's an eagle that they're talking about in the movie or a hawk, they use the red-tailed hawk sound. Because the eagle sound doesn't quite live up to the reputation of the beauty of a bald eagle.
Interesting. Oh, the peregrine falcon is coming out next. Sleek, aerodynamic bird. You cannot take a bad picture of a peregrine falcon. They are absolutely amazing. And it's a bird we almost lost in the 1960s because of DDT. Carol will talk about that. The more she studies peregrines, the more amazing a bird that it is. Everything about it is designed for speed.